What's been up to? You'll see more hand-to-hand combat. They do a lot more flying.
Complaining about really our self-inflicted wounds and leaving out a lot of facts along the way. So we're going to put facts first in the next couple of hours. President Trump, let's start with your all-out war on Amazon, against Amazon, and your false accusations that the corporate giant is taking advantage of the U.S. Postal Service and not paying its fair share of taxes. Here's the fact on that. Amazon pays the same lower rate that the post office charges other bulk shippers. That's good for the Postal Service's bottom line. Another fact, Amazon collects sales tax in every state that charges it. What's really at issue here, Mr. President, and the viewer, what you should know, are the president's hard feelings for Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, who also owns the Washington Post, a paper that has aggressively been covering his administration, and he doesn't like that. And did you watch the market today? Tech stocks fell, and fears of a trade war are weighing heavily on your friends, Mr. President, on Wall Street. You have repeatedly taken credit for the boom in the market since your election in 2016. Now, sir, you must take responsibility for the markets tanking today. The Dow Jones dropping 459 points. The NASDAQ plunging nearly 3%. President Trump, you could answer these kinds of questions if you held a real news conference, but that hasn't happened since February 16, 2017. That's 410 days ago. And speaking of news, there's this story about Sinclair Broadcasting. That's a conservative-leaning media company, the largest owner of television stations in the country, ordering its local news anchors and journalists to read a script that parrots your ill-conceived narrative about news, fake news, and legitimate news organizations.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. The more alarming some media outlets are true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media platforms push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Really? It is not the role of news anchors and journalists to report stories about you and your administration with a glowing pen. It is our job to speak truth to power. Facts first, not ideology first, not ideology at all. We're not supposed to tell the viewer what to think, nor should management. But before we delve into this story even deeper just a little bit later on this evening, I want you, the viewer, to know a few things about Sinclair's connection to the Trump world, okay? So keep in mind, the TV stations, that's the broadcast element of this operation. Circa TV is their digital arm. It was launched in 2015 and headed by the controversial former executive editor of the conservative newspaper, The Washington Times. His name is John Solomon, who traffics in misleading, far-right-leaning stories like the alleged Uranium One scandal. During the election, the Trump campaign, this is according to Politico, struck a deal with the Sinclair Broadcasting Group to secure favorable coverage. Here's what happened. The report says that Jared Kushner admitted that the campaign agreed to give Sinclair more access to the candidate and the campaign if the company broadcasts their Trump interviews across the country without commentary, which means without scrutiny, without criticism, without fact checks. Shortly after the inauguration, Sinclair hired Boris Epstein as a chief political analyst. You probably remember Epstein. He's a boisterous supporter of Trump on this network and other networks. The Russian-born political strategist was a senior advisor to the Trump campaign who went on to become a special assistant to the administration. Sinclair now mandates that Epstein's commentary be run at least 9 times per week on all of its 193 stations across the country, 40% of the American households, and growing if a pending merger goes through. So what did the president do today after the Sinclair story blew up? He tweeted support, calling Sinclair superior to CNN and another news organization. Now that is fake news if I've ever heard it.